Affirmations are more than just powerful words. They are powerful statements that can rewire your brain, shift your mindset, and keep you going when things aren't quite the way you want them to be. So today we're going to dive into a very powerful way of rewiring, reworking, and fixing some of the thoughts that we have in our brain. And this is called affirmations. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. Welcome back to day number 17 of my 100-day walk to consistency. Thank you for joining me on this time when we are walking, we are building, we are creating a new, better, more resilient version of ourselves. We're putting pieces each day, we're putting a new piece of the puzzle together as we move and set ourselves up for success. I'm glad that you're here. Hey, let's dive in. I'll see you on the walk. You know, the words that we feed our brain can have a profound impact on our thoughts and profound impact on our behavior. We've already talked about neuroplasticity. We've talked about the way the brain looks at and processes the things that we see and processes the things that we tell it. And affirmations are one of those tools that seem so simple, but can have a profound impact on what we do. So we're going to talk about positive affirmations. In my office, I often tell people that there is a certificate that I have that I created years ago. Well, not created, but I signed years ago. And once again, I was in another one of these masterminds. I think actually it was the same one. And we had to, at the beginning, come up with our plan for what we're going to be doing in our area of expertise, right? How are we going to convey the information to our folks? Who were we going to talk to? What were the words that we were going to use? And that was all great. We continued going through the process and people were refining their message. But at the end, or close at the beginning, at the end of this particular session, we were asked to make a commitment. And the commitment was given in this commitment statement. And the commitment statement talked about showing up and being present and bringing value, right? Showing up, being present, bringing value. And I signed that commitment statement and I decided I was going to frame it and put it on my wall. We weren't asked to do that, but decided that that was what I was going to do. And every time I walk into my studio, every time I sit down to create some content, every time I have a Zoom, every time I have a coaching call, every time I do a show on my YouTube channel, every time I create a podcast, every time I write a blog, that statement is there and I recite it. It's an affirmation that says that I am a content creator, that I will show up for my community, that I would bring value, that I will not allow life and the things around me to derail me when I am putting things together and putting content together and working out a plan for how to educate, empower, and encourage my community. That is a statement that I go through and I say that all the time. And it is on my wall and I see it mounted there each time that I go through and I'm thinking about what today is going to look like. And that is the power of an affirmation. That is the power of the things that we say, the things that we tell ourselves, okay? So what is a positive affirmation? And a positive affirmation, I've got a definition for you. Simple, powerful statements that declare something. Right? Notice the statement, it declares something that is about my life, something about me. They are designed to reinforce thought processes, behaviors, help us with mindset shifts so that we are empowered and we're pushed forward even during times when things are difficult. So that is a positive affirmation. And they are things that we say. Remember, our brain will listen to us. The things that we tell it, the words that we use are really the fodder for how our brain processes and the things that it will use to either encourage us, remember that coach, the inner coach, or discourage us. That's the inner critic. And so we always want to enhance. We always want to give the inner coach information, give it examples, give it tools to keep us going and to help us to be successful. Affirmations, how they work. How do affirmations work? Well, let's go back for a second. Let me give you an example of an affirmation. And simple one. And if you are around television, or if you watch shows, you're looking at blogs and you're reading, there are certain things that you will hear, certain things in certain shows. There are certain buzzwords, catchphrases, and those buzzwords, those catchphrases, they identify the people that we hear say them. And these are simple ones, right? So I remember there's a certain cartoon, I guess they're called animated series, right? So not cartoon, back in the day, that's the word. Animated series. And I think they've been running now for over 30 something years. And each of the characters has a certain sound that they make. And you may know the one I'm talking about. We won't call the name. Hey, why not? The Simpsons, right? So everyone on The Simpsons, they have a sound, right? Maggie, Marge, Bart, Lisa, Homer, even, Mo. So all of them have a certain thing that's identified with them. And the affirmation that we do is a statement that we want to now begin to identify with ourselves, right? So the words that we tell, the vision, the story that we're creating in our minds, in our lives, we want that to be identified with us. So affirmations work through repetition. So the more we say them, the more they're ingrained, the more our brain believes it, the more it creates a story. The more story we create, the more detail, the more sounds, the more sights, the more things that we put on to that story that begins identifying us, so that every time we see that, every time we hear that, every time the brain is thinking about us, it now begins just like that, those characters in that that animation, that is what begins to be associated with us. It's a repetitive thing. Now, when those shows first started, right, that animated series, or even other shows that you now, whenever you hear a certain sound, a certain song, a certain look, a certain smell, you associate with a particular show, a particular character, a particular person. When they first started, that was not something that we thought was going to be identifying, right? But as we learned, as we continued moving, and as we continued watching, right, all of a sudden they became a part of our psyche. And now we can't think of that person, that character, that situation without thinking of that sound that was brought, that was heard, that was learned. When a new series begins, right? A lot of series, they begin, and sometimes you think they're slow because the people, the story may not be as exciting as we thought, but they continue to develop those characters. They continue to develop the situation, and before long, each of the characters has a richness of their story, a richness in who they are. And that is what happens with our affirmations, okay? They are the things that create the stories that we we're telling ourselves. So how does the science work? Well, neuroplasticity. Now, we've talked about that, and this is the brain's ability to make connections. And every time we use a affirmation, there's a new neuron, there's a new network, there's a new connection that's made, and that connection is used by the brain to send a signal from one place to the other. And the more we say it, the more consistent we are, then that connection is made. So I am a content creator. I am a person that exercises. I am someone who gets up in the morning. I am someone who puts their diabetes in revision or reverses diabetes. I am, right? So notice, I'm not saying I will be, I'm going to be, I am right now. And so as I'm saying those things, as I'm using those words, my brain is now making connections. Those synapses are getting stronger. The myelin sheath is growing. And so now that becomes an automatic thing that happens. So it's no longer for me to have to think about it. It is a pattern now. When we talked about patterns, it is a behavior that comes automatically because I've created a connection between me and that statement. Okay? Just as negative thoughts can impact us, so positive thoughts can reignite us. It can push us forward. It can break cycles. And we've not talked about this here. We will more in depth. But imposter syndrome and lack of confidence and all the things that go along. That truck just going by. All the things that go along with us not seeing ourselves in a positive light, okay? Number two, the reticular activating system of the brain. Your brain has this RAS, right? And it filters information and it influences what you think, what you notice. When you focus on something, your brain starts to focus on that as well. So this is kind of like when you go out and you buy something, right? You buy a red truck. I don't know why I picked red. Or you buy a new refrigerator. Or you pick up a new pair of shoes. Or you buy a hat or something. All of a sudden, you notice that there are people around you that have the same truck, have the same shoes, have the same hat. Now, here's the question. Did those people go out and buy those things after you bought yours? Did they see you buying them or buying it and then decide, hey, I like what I'm seeing. I like what Dwain is doing. So let me go ahead and let me buy that so that we can match each other. No, those things were there all the time. But the RAS is now focused on that because it is now a part of your existence. It's a part of your reality. I was reading a book, I forgot what it was, what book, but the author was telling a story about a guy who would go to the coffee shop every day. And he'd been going to the coffee shop, and then one day his wife told him that she was pregnant and they were having a baby. And so he went about his business. I mean, they're doing the same thing or same activities. Now they're starting to think about babies and so forth. And so he goes to the coffee shop and he notices that the gal behind the counter who's been serving him for, forever, she's pregnant. And he looks around the coffee shop and he sees there are a lot of people around him that are pregnant. I mean, not everybody, but he's noticing more people in the shop now that are pregnant. And so he's driving on the way to work and he comes out of the parking lot for the coffee shop, driving down the road, and he notices that there's a daycare a couple of buildings away from the coffee shop. And he's driving down now, and hey, wait a minute, there's a school right over there. And he goes to the store to buy something, and he notices the aisle with all the baby food and all the baby stuff. And so what do you think is happening there? Well, his RAS is now paying attention to things that are now part of his existence. So when you are using these affirmations, the words that you use, I am, your brain starts to notice those things. It starts to notice places where you are, whatever you're telling it, right? So I'm a content creator. I told you, I can't stop seeing content. As a matter of fact, I'm walking down the street right now, and there's, today is trash day, right? And you guys, I'm trying not to show you all the trash cans on the road, but today's trash day. And my brain is thinking of content, right? Of how we line up and we are all lock and step, and we are all putting out trash, and we're all dumping things into those trash cans. And as I'm walking by, I don't know what's in your trash can. You don't know what's in my trash can. But there are things that are in there that you've thrown away. Come on now, come on. There are things that you've thrown away that you think is not good, that you think is trash, that you think is garbage, that would be the very thing that I need. Come on, right? And so my brain is seeing content, and I just now, as I'm walking, right? That's what I'm seeing as we move around the community. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other things there that can go. Okay. So the reticular activating system. If the affirmation is, I am confident, I am capable, I can achieve, right? Your RAS will begin to pick up and look for places where you are capable, where you can achieve, where you can be successful. Because that's what it does. Its job is to focus you. And so our goal is to use that to our advantage. The brain is set up in a wonderful way. All right, so my camera cut out there for a minute. All right, so why do positive affirmations matter for consistency? Well, it matters because it helps to shift our self-talk. Now, we've talked about positive self-talk, and we've talked about self-talk. We talked about positive and negative self-talk. And our goal is to shift to a more positive self-talk, because that is what sets us up for success. We already know that the inner critic is going to automatically pick up things that are negative. And so
time 29 minutes 26 seconds. Total distance 1.0 miles. Average pace 29 minutes 26 seconds per mile. Split pace 29 minutes 26 seconds per mile.
So you heard my readout. And so, like I said, we already know that the inner critic is going to pick up and process things and remember those. But that's not what we want. We want to create power. We want to create our inner coach. We want to give it information. We want to give it support. We want to give it tools. And so this helps to shift our self-talk. The way we talk to ourselves directly influences and directly affects the RAS and the things that will happen in our world and in our minds. So we want to make sure that we're actually doing those things that will set it up for success. Okay, and it builds confidence over time. So as we are talking, as we are moving in a direction to set ourselves up for to be positive and be successful, then over time our confidence level will build. It will be reinforced. And if we do a good job of creating an environment, of giving the information that our brain needs to set us up for positivity, then that sets us up in a position where our entire existence is in reinforcing the words that we say, the environment that we are in, the thought processes that we have, what our brain focuses on, the neuroplasticity that we're developing, the consistent small habits that we do, the compounding of small behaviors over time. Notice what's happening as we're building, as we're going through 100 days walk, the consistency, everything around us now is saying, yeah, that's who we are. We're creating a new identity. We're rebuilding this identity. And so this helps us build confidence over time, because now you start to have places where you're being successful. Now you start to have places where you are having small wins, and those small wins build over time. And over time you become more confident, and that spills over. Remember the domino effect. That spills over into other things that you're going to do. And now you are a person that succeeds. You are a person that wins. You are a person that gets good results. And all that happens as we are doing affirmations and telling ourselves what we wanted to do. And so it reinforces our identity. The success that we have, in a large part, will depend on the words, on the identity that we have. I think earlier in the series we talked, gave the example of someone who smokes, and they are trying to quit smoking, and someone in their environment says, "Hey, do you want a cigarette?" Now they can answer that in two ways, right? They can say, "Oh man, I'm trying to quit, so no thank you." Or even more forcefully than that, "Yeah, I'm trying to quit, no thank you." Or they can say, "I don't smoke." Now, both of those eventually convey the same words or same idea, convey the same idea to the person that they're talking to, that they don't want a cigarette. But one is something outside of themselves that they are working to do, and the other is who they are. I don't smoke. Not that I'm trying not to smoke, but I don't smoke. Or I walk in the morning. I wake up early. I go to bed. I get my rest. I take care of myself. I don't eat donuts at 12 o'clock at night. All right? I don't pacify myself with buffering behaviors. All those things are part of the identity. And when you create that identity then dictates your success. So affirmations reinforce our identity, right? Lets us know, or at least creates for us an environment where our world is in collaboration with us and not fighting us. So how do we create and use positive affirmations? One, we keep them specific and we keep them simple. Here's an example. I am successful, right? I am taking action that will lead to my success. I am an exerciser. I go to the gym. Notice, very simple, very, not a lot of fluff, not a lot of words in there. And it says who I am. It is creating my identity. It is developing my identity, the word. So keep it simple. Use the present tense. Not I will, or I was, I'm gonna be, but it is I am, right? Because it's a creation of my current identity, right? I will is in the future. I was is in the past, but what am I right now? I am somebody. Remember that? So I will be confident, right? Is the future. But I am confident is right now. That is what I'm creating. That's the life. Repeat it regularly. Oh, there's another place where consistency comes in. All right, if you say this once every month, guess what? You're not really creating an environment. But every day I am confident. Every day I exercise. Every day I go to the gym. Every day I'm working on my metabolism. Every day I'm putting my diabetes in remission. Every day I am reversing my diabetes. Every day I don't eat donuts after midnight. Right? So repeat it regularly and visualize as you affirm. So remember, the power of visualization is that it creates richness. It creates sounds and sights. It creates for us a world where the brain sees the things that we do, sees the things that we say, and those things activate parts of the brain, just like if those things are right now, right here, whether we can, and we can feel and we can touch them. Right? So visualize it. And don't let this be a passive visualization, right? Let's just be active. Remember, we're using all the senses. What does this smell like? Right? I am an exerciser. I walk. So what are the sights, right? As I'm walking around, as I'm talking to you, I'm looking around. You hear me, you saw me smiling. I'm hearing the sounds, the school bus as it's going by, right? We talked about the trash cans that are out. There are people standing up. There are kids that are waiting to catch the bus. Well, not waiting anymore. So I gotta be heading back to the house. But you get the idea, right? What does this smell like? What does it feel like? What does it taste like? Right? What does the morning air smell like to you when you're walking? Right? Because that's what you've created. That's what you're saying. And so all those things in our visualization help put us in a position of success. Right? So we want to make sure that we're doing all of that. And then affirmations, write it out, right? And we'll come to that here in just a minute. So that's the power. That's the power of our affirmations. It's power of the words that we use, power of the things that we say, power of the environment that we've created. So we can't go away without giving you a challenge. So here's your challenge for today. The challenge for today: identify an area of your life where you've been struggling with negative self-talk. Where is that? What is going on? Identify that area. You want to write it down. Write down that area. And then you want to create 3 affirmations that counter those negative thoughts and support you and your goals. All right, so find an area where you've been having some negative self-talk. Then write down 3 affirmations that support you in what you want to do in that particular area. Okay? And then I want you to visualize yourself in that space where these affirmations have come true. And then, again, here's it. You ready? You ready? Then I want you to commit and repeat those affirmations every day, every morning, every evening. So write it. So find an area, create 3 affirmations, visualize what it is when you are that person. I shouldn't say visualize when you are, but visualize yourself as that person. Commit that to memory. And then repeat it every day. In the morning when you get up, in the evening when you go down. I am an exerciser. I am a content creator. I am someone who wakes up in the morning. I am taking care of my health. I am reversing my diabetes. I am doing my 100-day walk to consistency. All right? So that is the environment. That is what you're creating. That is the person that you are designing with each of these affirmations, with each day, with the neuroplasticity, the connections that you're making, the consistency, the repetitiveness of it, and the power that it brings into your life. All right, so remember, positive affirmations are powerful words and statements that we use to rewire our brain. It helps to refocus us. It helps to put us in a positive mindset, a positive light. It is something that we're telling ourselves, and we're telling our brains, hey, I want you to focus on this. Remember the reticular activating system. And when we focus on it, that's what becomes a part of who we are. It becomes a part of us. We actually grow into that person. Positive affirmations. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. I'm always happy when you join me. I'm always excited as we move through this journey of 100 days to consistency. Remember, you want to make sure that you are participating, that you're doing the challenges. So very important. They are the tools that will help you reinforce, help you learn, help you do the things that you need to do to set yourself up for positivity and for success. Make sure that you're doing the workbook, right? When you're finished with the workbook, you would have created a manual for your life success that you can go back to, that you can share with other people as well. So make sure you're doing the workbook, the worksheets. So don't just put those on the shelf and let them go, right? Because they are so powerful in your journey. Hey, as always, I'm glad that you're here. This is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for Endocrinology, and I'm excited. I want to educate, empower, and encourage you to take charge of your life and take charge of your health as we move in a positive direction. Hey, we're going to be back out here tomorrow. We'll see you on our next walk. Have a great day.